Hello and good afternoon. My name is Danielle Bash. I'll be your host for today. Welcome to today's presentation, Blueprint for the Future, Building a Successful and a Resilient Company. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. His name is Shashi Bellamkonda. He is an industry marketing expert known by many as the social media Swami. Don't say that 5 times fast. Shashi is the VP of Marketing at Leap. He has helped leaders in the home improvement industry succeed in using technology to market to homeowners and create an excellent sales experience. So please welcome Shashi.
Thank you, everyone. As you can see that I have a beautiful Southern accent, so please put in the chat if there's something that you don't understand, and Daniel will help translate. In the chat, I see a lot of people have already done this, which is like giving back to the community and doing something, which means that starting a resilient business, you have to be thinking about a mission that is far above just making money. That's why I saw this quote from Daniel Yang on LinkedIn. He is one of our customers from Indiana. I thought that was really very useful. If you don't know about Leap, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction. It's mostly, and I'm also curious about how many who are in the webinar today are actually Leap customers. Leap is something that you can add on to your existing systems, and starting from managing appointments all through production, everything is taken care of in Leap, so you don't have errors, you don't have to manually update data, no more spreadsheet hell and errors in formulas. Plus, there are a lot of other cool stuff which I will leave it to you to probably to get in touch with our sales team if you ever want a demonstration. COVID, gosh, who expected that, right? COVID taught everyone that resilient businesses survive. The image that you're looking at on the left-hand side is actually a graph that I got from the Harvard Business Review that talks about how resilient businesses can actually recover very fast because they actually believe in preparing. On the right-hand side, the image that you see is actually taken from our app usage in the Apple Store, where you can see a little bit of a dip in the March-April timeframe, but after that, it really goes up. What we found from our own customers is they were actually ready for, nobody expected that we would go under lockdown and there would be so many things, but they were ready for that and they did a lot of good business. So just in terms of a summary I'm only going to deal with the non-resilient businesses. I'm pretty sure a lot of you, just by the fact that you're on this webinar, actually may already be a resilient business or striving to be a resilient business. Non-resilient businesses want to be like, fly by night. We need to make quick profits. They don't have processes. They don't use technology, fragmented systems. They don't think about change. And I just want to point out, like, for example, the cab companies or the cab drivers in New York never even realized like what was coming their way from Silicon Valley in the form of Uber or Lyft, because they probably, they were oblivious to the change. So today it's not only looking at the competitor across the town, but also looking at what's happening in the whole world with so much of a problem we are having with supply chain issues just because of the global disruption in supply. And non-resilient businesses don't make profit. They may make profit in a short term, but not in a long-term way. Here's an interesting thing. If you follow research firms like Gartner or Forrester, you'll find that they do this adoption curve for almost every software category that comes up. What I'm interested in here is to tell all our contractor friends that you have to rate yourself on this curve. Meaning, if you're still thinking about website, search engine optimization, reviews, should I do it or not? You're probably in 2009. But if you're on the left-hand curve, you're thinking about drone inspection. Hey, how do I use AI? How do I use virtual reality, natural language processing, machine learning? Then you're an innovator. So I think the most comfortable position for most people to be is to the left of the yellow button, right? Early majority. Why early majority is if you depend on everybody else doing doing things to succeed, you want to be as ahead of the curve as possible. So I want to ask Daniel to just quickly put up a poll just to get a pulse of where everybody feels they are, right? So in terms of technology, like where do you fall? Cool, very nice. No, thank you very much. And we'll probably end the poll now and continue on. So if you look at the results, right? We have early adopters, we have early majority, late majority laggards. And it's okay that nobody is an innovator, nobody scored themselves as an innovator, because that's really tough. I mean, when you're looking at a business, you're thinking about like, how do I actually run my operations and business, and where do I have to time to do anything else? So the agenda today is going to be the customer journey, the technology, and hiring. And I'll try to walk through this as quickly as possible, but I will be available for you if you ever want to talk about any of the things that I've talked about in this. I also am an adjunct professor at Georgetown, so I actually believe that knowledge not shared is lost forever, and we learn throughout our lives. So going on to the customer journey. When I bought a house, the exploration of the idea was far before I needed anything. For example, the first person who educated me about roofing shingles, for example, was actually the realtor and the home inspector, because they looked at the roof and explained to me like what they were looking at and whether it needed to be replaced or not. Now, if you look at Google's graph about research, the next thing is people actually do fact finding even before they need it. There was a time when all of us had the luxury of family, high school mates, friends who we could depend on to tell us all of these things. But today it's almost a very contrast that we have so much information, but we don't have reliable people who are going to help us through that information. So we do all this every time ourselves. So idea, find the facts, evaluate companies, sign the contract, complete the project, and then post-project. That's one thing, in my opinion, contractors don't do very much, because most people just think like, I'm going to have this customer for, hey, they're not going to change a roof in 20 years, or they're not going to remodel a kitchen every 20 years. But the most important thing is, like, in today's world, companies have to constantly keep in touch with their customers. Number one is because they always want to stay top of mind, just in case anybody else can give them a referral, right? Now, overcoming homeowner bias. I'm a big believer in behavioral economics, and I have the book right here. So there are some examples from this book that I'm going to quote. But I also wanted to see if any of you have read this book. If you have read this book, please put it into chat. And if you want a copy of this book, we'll just send an email to bespoke@leap2digital.com. I'm sorry, there's an extra I in this, which I didn't catch before I finished. And maybe, Daniel, you can put up a poll for this. Probably we don't have a poll, so send it to leap2digital.com with just one I in it, and my apologies for the thing. So Richard Thal is a Nobel Prize winning economist, and it should actually be very evident to us about how people make decisions. And the Binmore continuum from his research says this: people make decisions about things that they have practiced. Meaning ordering a pizza, getting a cup of coffee, buying donuts, going and getting gas. They do that so many times, so they're very rational about it. They make the decisions very easily. But decisions that they're not very familiar with, they decide very irrationally. example is a big remodeling project, getting a mortgage, buying a house, buying a car, all of that they don't do too many times in their lives. So what happens here is very difficult to think about the biases that they're having before this. That's why I found like sometimes when as contractors, we think about like, why didn't they buy? My quality is good, my reviews are good. I gave them the lowest price, but they still didn't buy from me. So what they are espousing is like, cater to the biases, then eradicate them. They just don't try to change their mind, but educate them so that they're going to make a decision in your favor. One of the things that it talks about is transparency in pricing. What you see on the screen, the screenshot is actually a magazine subscription. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I actually still read the physical copy of the magazine because I like it. I'm not connected during those days. But if you look at what is here, right, it makes me feel good when it says that, okay, I bought a subscription, but then I got a membership card. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I like seeing those words, right? And it says members only, discount opportunities, everything is included. So when you talk about pricing, I hope nobody on this webinar is going to a customer and writing the price in a piece of paper. Like I've got a few contractors who have come and of course they didn't get the job. But somebody who can give me a nice document digitally that has all the pricing is good. Now, sometimes when you think about supposedly irrelevant factors, that's mentioned in the book too. Like one example is the 401k, right? When companies had to tell people like, hey, here's a process, go and sign up for 401k. I think there were less than 30% of the people actually signed up for 401k. But when they made it an auto enrollment of 401k, they found it jumped by almost 40% there. So I have a question for everyone here. You see this example where the gym fees, right? $70 a month, unlimited visits. And on an average, the research found that people go 4 times a month to a gym. I think Daniel probably goes more. I just do a walk every day, no gym for me. The second offer was $100 for 10 visits, right? So I want to ask the audience this question. Which do you think was very popular? $70 a month unlimited, or was it $10 for 10 visits? Cool, it's almost an even split here, right? And I'm going to end the poll here. So what research found is you're all, I mean, people who said $70 a month were absolutely right. Even though if you think about the per visit cost, that package, it costed each consumer $17, whereas the second package would be $10. Now that's where, you know, you're talking about the customer bias. For the $70 a month, they feel like they can go into the gym anytime. It's more of how they feel about it. So they're not always looking at price. I think that's the important message here. For example, another survey that I read, another fact that I read in the book, and I'm originally from India, so I probably do this, is people will drive 5 miles to buy a $10, I mean a $20 worth of an item if it is selling for $10. Like they'll drive 3 to 4 miles because it's cheaper, 50% cheaper in another store. But at the same time, if there is something that's worth $140 is selling for $130, they will not drive there. So the takeaway here is don't always think about people buying from you because of pricing. It depends on the value that you give. It depends on the experience that you give. I hope that makes sense. Checkbox inclusions. One of the examples is about, the British Energy Organization wanted to make sure that people consume less heating. So they told the HVAC contractors in the UK that, hey, why don't you guys offer attic insulation? And they found that nobody was going in for attic insulation. Digging deep into this, they found that the problem that the homeowners were having for attic insulation was that people didn't want to clear their attics. They had so much of junk there, things that they wanted to do. So they didn't take the service because they didn't want to clear the attic. So when the contractors started just a checkbox that said like, hey, there's a price to it, it's not free. Use our attic clearing service for $2.99. They found more people were actually taking up attic insulation. So today, if you're thinking about, if you're a roofing contractor, solar contractor, anybody else, and thinking about adding, attic insulation, I would have taken it if my contractor had offered it, because I keep thinking about like, hey, so much of energy is being wasted, right? Now, we have I'm going to give a shout out to a partner called Destination Motivations. I'm just curious if anybody uses Destination Motivation. The biggest friction, especially for interior remodeling, is the time it takes to finish the project, because there'll always be breakdowns in communication, especially when you're working inside the house. So you have to try to finish the job inside the house as quickly as possible. That's why we have these one-day bath services or half-day tub replacement and things like that. And what if you had a checkbox that said, take a vacation on us while we remodel your kitchen or do anything like that? I think that's a great thing we can try. On that note, we also want to try, like if we were to give you a voucher for a free vacation in return for 30 to 40 minutes of your time to learn what LEAP really is, maybe you'll take it. Daniel, do we have a poll for that? Cool. So this question is basically, I'm being a little selfish here, right? So I'm trying to say like, okay, if you'd like to get a free vacation on us, and in return for it, you can see a demo of LEAP. So that would be a good one for that. Okay, cool. I'm going to keep going. Yeah, a lot of you said maybe later. Cool, contact us. Now, the second thing that it talks about is the language of your contracts, right? Nobody wants to feel left out. So this is another example where just by adding the words in a bill or an invoice that said 80% of all our customers pay us within 7 days, they actually saw an increase in the amount of people who were default or decrease in the number of people who didn't pay within that time period. Because nobody wants to feel like, hey, I don't want to be the person who doesn't pay within 7 days, right? So they want to be part of that. The second thing is like, everything that you've talked to with the homeowners, you have to be able to put into one contract. The reason is they'd like to always refer to it. Nobody keeps it in their minds about what was the discussion that took place either with your salesperson or your project manager or your team that's there. So making it easy to understand is probably a good way to help with homeowner bias. Now, when you think about digital, right? I think in today's world, if you have a smartphone and if you click the picture of a document, it becomes digital. But that's not the end all of everything. Digital is being able to get everything together in one place so everyone has the same information. Your sales team, the homeowner, your CRM system, your production, your finance, all of them have the same thing. What homeowners also do is they actually, when you send them a contract digitally, they actually like to forward it to people just to get a validation. And then they would like to keep it in records and refer to it for clarity. Hey, what did we discuss? How did we discuss? And what was there? So I think that's another thing that will help you with homeowners. Information is your secret power. Like when you come, especially with sales, when you go to a homeowner, you have to appear to be authoritative. You have to appear to be credible. Your company should present very well. So not everybody, especially with a high ticket item, is not going to buy with product or price. They're going to buy because of what they feel is going to be the experience. They want to see how transparent you are. They want to see how credible you are and how you're educating them. Right. So educating consumers, I think, is probably a better way for you to get the deal than just by saying, because product, I think everybody has a product. Pricing, probably everybody can offer the same price. If you, I'm just curious about how many people here have their Nextdoor pages. And Nextdoor is, I was one of the first people who set up my own Nextdoor neighborhood. And the amount I've actually spoken to contractors who become the Nextdoor favorite and get so much of business out of that. One tip, if you have not set up your Nextdoor business page, is keep your Nextdoor business page login separate from your personal login. Because from your personal login, you can only see the area where you live. With your business login, after setting up a business page, you'll be able to see everywhere that people have made a recommendation. This one is probably not from long ago from my own neighborhood, where if you see like people are talking about windows, and you can see how it actually turns into a conversation about the good and bad. Information, especially in the home improvement industry, is two ways. Number one is I need it immediately. My roof is leaking, I need to change the roof. And the other thing is I'm going to need it someday. So there are different ways that people get information. I think the takeaway here is make sure you have a good web presence. There's one homework I can give everybody here is like you should constantly be checking your Google search results. Check the first 10 results. See how many of them you control. Meaning if you're personally doing it too, probably your LinkedIn profile is coming up. Did you update it? The reason being, it's already happening that as you set up a meeting, a lot of these meeting software actually say like, oh, you're meeting with Shashi Bellamkonda. Here, let me give you what I find from the web. So even if you're in sales, you should have a good LinkedIn profile. You never know, because before people pay you, they actually want to make sure you're genuine, right? So that's one thing that's there. I wish every one of you, this is the second takeaway, is that you should over communicate. The best experience for people once they've given you the money is they want to hear from you almost every day. Even if they don't open the email, it's just a status update. Hey, today it's going to snow, our crew is not going to turn up today. You need to prepare. Do you want to put the supplies when it comes tomorrow at 9 o'clock on your driveway, or should it be separate outside? Hey, we have some supply chain issues. We're going to have to take a break for 3 days. Anything that's affecting the project, you should be texting your homeowners or you should be emailing them. I've also seen like Greta Bajrami, who's on our podcast. By the way, we have a podcast with interviews from a lot of good remodeling contractors. It's called Leaps and Bounds. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, and would love to learn what podcasts you listen to if you have a chance. And then review not just. Review not just is important, where you train your crew to tell the homeowner, hey, by the way, are you on Nextdoor? Did I do a good job? If you ever have a chance, do you mind recommending us? Or you can say, hey, by the way, we have a Yelp page where we have pretty good reviews. Would love to see you add one. So people are very used to giving reviews when they have a bad experience, but we have to kind of nudge them into giving you a better review, right? Also, this is actually a finding from the University of Amsterdam, where if the price of the product is very high, customers will read the review. And the probability of purchase is stronger when you have many reviews. This is a couple of years ago, a friend of mine, a well-known remodeler, actually called me up at 6 in the morning. He said, Shashi, I couldn't sleep. I'm having a problem. I got a 1-star review. So I calmed him down and told him, like, let me check your profile. He had about, I think if I remember right, 75 reviews above 4.5. So I told him, you don't have to worry at all. Like I said, you don't go home, switch on the light, and then say like, wow, this is really great. My power company rocks. My power is on. But God forbid something happens and power goes off. We are all searching for like, hey, where in social media can we post? Come on, power company, get the thing back, right? So as a service businesses, all of us should realize that we will always have some customers who may not have the best experience. The way to sort it out is training, processes, systems, and good rapport with the homeowners. So don't worry if you get 1 or 2 reviews, just know how to handle them and definitely handle them, right? So this person actually went back to the homeowner. It was not even a problem that the contractor had created. It was totally a plumbing problem. But since they were already on site, they said, hey, we'll fix that. And the review actually was taken back, which is actually a good thing. So not everybody wants to. Here's why people write reviews. And this is again a research from, I think it's a Harvard Business, or no, it was in the Journal of Marketing, where you want to be in the top left quadrant, where your project, your service, you wow the homeowner so much that they believe that good companies should be rewarded. They're going to go next door and say, like, this company is really very great. And maybe it's Tom's Astros company that says, like, hey, Tom was great. He was always available. He did exactly what he said he would do, right? And that's where you want to be. You don't want to be in the top left-hand side corner where people are so angry with whatever happened in the project that they are saying that this company hurt me and I want to hurt them back. I think most of the contractors that I know are probably on the top right or the bottom right of it. So continue to do that, and that will be helpful. But also understand that people are not writing reviews to hurt you, right? Unless and until it's become. So try to avoid any aggravation there. Manage it well through good training and processes. This is actually another thing that really surprised me very much, that if there's a business with 4 reviews and all of them are 5-star, nobody thinks it's credible. So there's always like 4 and above is really great. Don't stress about a few reviews that may not be high. The important fact here is get as many reviews as possible to be able to influence homeowners. I think we were all very skeptical before the pandemic that, hey, who wants like virtual meetings? People love somebody coming in and sitting for 2.5 hours in the evening at the kitchen table and, talking me through this. I can tell you the last 3 roofing projects that I did personally for me, I never even met the contractor. Everything was done virtually. And I'll have some statistics about a Google presentation where it talks about what the world is feeling. So if there are people in your company that say like, hey, no digital, I think most people want to welcome me. They want to give me a steak dinner and they want to talk to me over a glass of beer for 2-3 hours. I think that world is changing because of how consumers are behaving, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't go and visit. In fact, going and visiting is a great thing. You should say like, hey, we're going to be inspecting your roof. You're going to be taking a lot of pictures. We're going to go around. We're going to send a drone. We're going to tell your neighbors about what we're going to do. And think about what are the new technologies that you can adopt to make the homeowner, and tell them that everything will be digital, will be communicating steadily with you, and you don't have to worry about any paper at all. I want to touch upon, these are the ways that people will be searching. 2 things that I want to talk about here is like, make sure you have like local listings, right? Because Google in its infinite wisdom is going to really know where people are searching from and present that. That's the listing. On the right side is something that not many people may have heard of, which is called schema.org. And if anybody has any questions, you can either email the team or me, and I'll talk to you or your website developer. Your website, the only way Google knows where you're located and how is basically the content on your website. But Google, Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, everybody has agreed on a standard where you can, through your website's code, tell the website what business you're in, where you're located, what products you offer, when your timings, and those translate into questions like this, which is if you have a nice blog and you have these frequently asked questions, all of these questions could probably be from your website for that particular location. Plus, you have a very good chance of appearing in the map results, right? How am I doing so far? Maybe you can just quickly type something, thumbs up, thumbs down, or Shashi, we don't understand a word of what you're saying. That's okay too. I'd love any feedback. So website as a research tool, right? So people will search, they will search far more. Like my friend Mark Richardson, who's who's written a lot of books about the home improvement business, actually says your customers know more about you than you yourself as a business owner, because they're going to find information in every nook and corner of the web, right? Just provide the best customer experience. Like, I was very surprised when I saw during the pandemic, I don't know whether it was a county requirement or not, the fact that if because of social distancing, if people didn't go into the house, that would be something to provide. I think a lot of people changed their Yelp pages and Google pages and said that, hey, we have trained all our employees and for social distancing, and they were very resilient because they know how they could change very quickly. In terms of technology, right? I mean, I'm a fan of Steve Jobs. I think if Steve Jobs had not introduced the iPhone, the mobile web as it looks today would have been totally very different. So his vision was to put a computer in everybody's hands. And I think we all have that today, whether using Android or iOS. And if you're using Leap, you literally have a whole operating system in your hands. So this is the survey that I was talking about. Like, a lot of people say, like, hey, this demographic, they want to meet in person. This demographic, they want to meet in person. And when I was at IRE, I was talking to Jim Nicholson of JK Roofing. He said, like, they actually are able to look at a homeowner profile and decide what they want to do, whether the homeowner likes virtual or who to send and things like that. I think those are very good tips to see, like, it's not one size fits all. If your homeowner is a millennial, you probably want to change your processes for that. And some of the stats here is like 65% want online scheduling and contactless payment. So instead of having a back and forth of like, hey, have a calendar on your website where they click on it and choose when they want a visit from you or a call from you. Everybody wants contactless payments. I'll talk a little bit about that. I mean, digital communications. I think 25 to 44, they want a lot of digital communications. This was surprising to me because a lot of people said, like, hey, you know what? If they are beyond 55, they probably don't want to get on a Zoom call. Today, I think that is the demographic that has gotten very Zoom expertise, because that was the only way to keep in touch with family in the last 2 years, right? So now they have found the convenience of not having to go somewhere to talk to family. I talk to my mother in India every day. I don't use a Zoom call, but I use an Amazon Echo Show, where I'm literally dropping into our house in Hyderabad, India. I just have to say, Alexa, drop in, and we're literally making breakfast, having tea, and talking to each other. So the old method of saying only a particular demographic likes virtual is probably going away. I had a 3-week delay in signing a contract for a PTO because the person wanted a physical one. It was very easy for me. I would have probably signed the same day that they told me the price if they had it. And I think the prices is critical, is what the Google study found, which I think is a problem that we're all struggling with still. Technology changes very fast. Today we are talking. Hopefully, I've given you a few tips that you can take away to your business. But if not, keep watching out for what is it that will make your business stronger, resilient, and stay for a longer time. We had a webinar a week ago where we talked about, like, what happens to your business. Do you have a succession plan in mind? Do you want to be acquired by some of these large companies that are doing mergers and acquisitions? If you have a resilient company, yes, to all of those answers, you will be building wealth. I already talked about electronic signatures. Make it very easy. I mean, like, I've heard the horror stories of people having a lot of paper in their cars, boot, and then the wind blows and all the paper is gone. So make sure you have redundant systems there, right? And this is a very interesting story. I had a wonderful job done. As you can see, I had a lot of jobs done in the last 25 years. So I have a lot of experience as a homeowner dealing with contractors. Contractor did a wonderful job. I was very happy with them. He said he wanted a check. And I don't know, many of you will agree that we don't use checks that much. Anyway, I did find a check and gave him a check. He calls me at 8 in the evening and say, like, I'm very sorry, I apologize, but the check flew away. Really? And of course, he was a nice person. So I came and gave him another check. And before I could call the bank to cancel the check, my neighbor actually called me because my phone number was in the check, and I asked him to just share it. What I'm saying is, like, when people think about a bias, if there is so much of friction there, they're not even going to say like, hey, let me put off this project. So make it so easy for them to say yes, and make it so easy for them to have like instant gratification, so that you're able to say like, hey, I'm going to send you a link. I'm sitting here. I'm going to send you a link. Just click 3 times and the contract is signed. That's much easier than anything else that you can do. Error-free, I think people don't like errors. Once the contract is done, they don't want to go back and, go back and forth. Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you needed a wall here or a retaining wall here. Hey, the area is much bigger. So that's another thing that will help. Like, they keep hearing this. People share that information. So have a system that takes away out of stock items. Make sure that you're not suffering from somebody's chicken scratch and then having to calculate that over and over again. One contractor in Sedona, Arizona told me, like, ever since he started using technology, he's actually a Leap customer. He's spending more time with his family at home, whereas he used to go back home and from 6 in the evening to 10 he was just calculating and doing like spreadsheet work, right? So time saved is also pretty key in that. In terms of technology, you've all heard of horror stories of ransomware and everything. So I hope everybody on this call, you have redundant systems, you've backed up to the cloud, you're not using a server that you had 10 years ago in your closet, or worse still, you don't have anything digital, everything is in paper. So that's something you do. Secure customer information. There's a lot of information out there about compliance, and especially if you have customers' financial data, how you can do that. Connect all your systems together. Technology companies are not always doing a good job helping you connect with them. So think about how you can eliminate double entry into different software. It also reduces efficiency, and totally eliminate any manual entry of information. We'll talk about hiring of employees, and a lot of things is from what I learned at the International Roofing Expo, and probably a little bit from my own experience teaching at Georgetown. Telling the story about your business. About 100 people came to the session at the Roofing Expo, and I asked all of them, do you have an About Us page? Probably about half. So do you have any stories about your employees about the About Us page? Probably 2 people. And the reason I say that is, like, when you're looking to hire people, people are going to come to your website. If they find your website has the same information that's available in like thousands of other websites, because you just told somebody, hey, just create a About Us page. No, have your story, be there, tell them. It's very easy now to shoot a video, even if it's not well produced for a start. It could be just your story about why people should work for your company. There's a story of a school principal who joined a roofing contractor in Texas, and her job was licensed drone pilot. I wanted to say, like, hey, I want the job, right? Because who wouldn't want to be? And like, you see a lot of teachers are actually, it's not a good thing, are leaving. There are other professions that are leaving. Like, figure out how you can attract them. They're going to search, they're going to find your business, and hope you have stories on that they'll like and would like to be there. And also, not all jobs are just about when they think about it, there are jobs in the office, there are jobs in estimating, there are jobs in project management. So make sure you're putting all of these there, and not every job needs you to climb the roof, right? Catch them young. I think Robert Balfans from the Vinyl Siding Institute had this very good tip. He said, like, go to your local community colleges. They have CTE programs. There are a lot of other verticals that are actually going and attracting people there. Show them that you use technology, attract them, and that would be one place to go. And think ahead. Like, don't just think about, hey, I need somebody now. Think about, you're going to grow 3 times, 4 times over the next 2 to 3 years. When these students are ready to graduate, they're going to think about you. So think about that far ahead of what you need. This is a challenge. It's a challenge for me. Like almost every place, we have 4 to 5 generations of employees working in the same place. So think about your training, think about what they care about. A lot of them care about mission. Not everybody says that money is number one. They care about mission. They care about what kind of atmosphere is being provided. They care about diversity. They care about comfort in the place. So that's something to think about. The picture on the left is a customer of ours called Reborn Cabinets. They do so much of employer branding. And by employer branding is their stories on LinkedIn are about employees. They're congratulating employees. They're figuring out what makes them successful. They're in the top workplaces in the USA. So think about all of these. Like the 3 major things that I found is number 1 is supply chain, hiring, and then they have like technology. How do they choose technology and how to avoid mistakes? So hopefully, like as we talk about this, I've given you some tips that you can actually take away and implement. The picture on the right is actually National Women in Roofing. I'm sure all of you agree that it's only now that you see a lot of women entering this field. Many of them are entering in different ways, business owners in different aspects of the business. So that's your place where you can probably find more of them. I mean, they already, the National Women in Roofing you can actually submit your job opening, and hopefully the problem of hiring goes away with that. So in short, to build a successful and resilient company, information. This information has to come from you. You're the expert. You have to make sure you're telling your story and not just depending on somebody else to tell your story. Make sure it's complete. Remember, you're not going to say I'm the cheapest, I have the best materials, because everybody probably goes to the same manufacturer, right? You're going to say like, I have the experience. And you're going to create a customer experience that wows them so much that they become evangelists. They become the 5-star review writers. And they tell people that this is a good company and I want to make them succeed. Communicate frequently. Customer satisfaction has got to be the ultimate one. And all of these things together will make for prosperity. So with that, I wanted to thank everybody for being on this webinar. And I wanted to see if you had any questions for me. And by the way, like we do have, I think, another poll that is coming up where once again, like the reason why I want all of you, if you thought something of value is here, is you'll get much more value when you talk to our salespeople, because they actually, many of them are from the industry. They understand the industry. So they're able to look at your current sales system and say, like, here are some changes you can make to be more efficient, right? And sometimes they do say, like, you've got an excellent system and you can actually see if Leap can be helpful for you or not. So with that, over to you, Daniel.
Thank you, Shashi. Great presentation. So today's webinar is brought to you by Leap. Leap is a sales software that reduces errors and redundancies that slow down your sales process so you can get a leg up on your competition and grow your business even more. Whether you are in the roofing, windows, siding, flooring, kitchen and bath, or any other home service, you can use the power of Leap to make our customizable sales platform your own, just like Shashi said. And today we are offering a special promotion to those of you joining us live today. You can have a conversation, like Shashi said, with our sales team, and we'll send you a gift card for lunch on us. And if we are a good fit for one another, you'll also get $500 off to use towards your Leap subscription. We also invite you to join us for next week's webinar. The topic is going to be about building quality estimates with speaker John Kenny. He also spoke at IRE, and it's going to be a really great one as we move into the spring and busy season for 2022. Again, thank you all for being here, and a big thank you to Shashi. We will be emailing out today's webinar recording to you. Feel free to share with your colleagues, pass it along to others in the industry. And you can also check out our resources tab on our website for more learning tools like webinars, ebooks, blogs, and more. I know I posted a few in the chat today for you guys to refer to as well. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to leaptodigital.com. Shashi, he has his links right there. And we hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon. And we'll see you next week.
I took this picture on my walk on Sunday morning, Daniel. And if anybody wants a copy of this presentation, feel free to send an email to marketing or bespoke at leaptodigital.com. I'd love to connect with you all on LinkedIn, and looking forward to seeing you on our next webinar.
Thank you, Shashi. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.